Tony Stark is gone. And that's exactly where this story becomes terrifying. Because the truth is, Iron Man was never just a guy in a suit. He was an idea, a promise, a warning, a machine built around a human heart. And once I started looking at this movie through that lens, everything clicked into place. This isn't just Iron Man 4. This is a story about what happens when the symbol Tony left behind gets hijacked by someone who understands power even better than he did. Not someone who wants to wear the armor, but someone who wants to own what the armor meant. And that is where Victor Von Doom becomes the perfect villain. Not because he hates Tony Stark, but because in a twisted way, he understands him, maybe better than anyone still alive. I think the movie opens with pure chaos. No slow setup, no casual reunion scene, no easy nostalgia. We begin inside a classified Stark orbital facility, one of those secret locations Tony would absolutely leave behind in case the world ever needed another impossible solution. Everything feels calm for a few seconds. Then suddenly, the systems turn against themselves. Doors lock. Security turrets activate. Iron Legion drones wake up like ghosts with unfinished business. Red emergency lights flood the hallways. Alarms scream, holograms glitch, and every line of code Tony built to protect humanity starts behaving like it has a new master. Somewhere deep inside the system, someone is rewriting Stark's future in real time. Then on a shattered display, a message appears. Stark built the future. I will perfect it. And right there, before we even see his face, Doom has already made his entrance. Now imagine this attack playing against something deeply personal. While the facility is collapsing, Pepper Potts is at home, watching an old Tony Stark hologram with Morgan. Not a dramatic speech, just one of those small, intimate recordings Tony would leave behind because part of him always knew he might not be there tomorrow. He says something simple like, "If you're seeing this, it means the world still needs saving. Again." That one line does so much heavy lifting. It reminds us that Tony's presence still lingers over this world like a ghost in the circuitry. He's gone physically, but every machine, every protocol, every safeguard, every scar on the planet still carries his fingerprints. And that's the emotional engine of the whole film. The world isn't healing after Tony Stark. It's still living inside the consequences of him. From there, the inciting incident practically writes itself. Around the world, Stark-based systems start failing in ways that feel impossible. Arc reactor energy plants overload. Decommissioned defense satellites reactivate and then vanish from official tracking. Black market armor suits buried for years suddenly come online like they've been called back to life. Even fragmented AI systems from old Stark databases begin surfacing in encrypted networks. And naturally, the public starts asking the worst possible question: did Tony Stark leave something dangerous behind? That's what makes this setup so good. The threat is not just external. It attacks Tony's memory itself. It turns his legacy into a suspicion. Suddenly, the man who saved the universe starts looking like the architect of the next global catastrophe. And for Pepper, for Morgan, for Rhodey, that is unbearable. Pepper is crucial here, and honestly, she should be one of the strongest pieces of the entire movie. I don't want her treated like a background emotional prop. She should be the guardian of Stark's secrets, the one person who knows just how many emergency projects Tony buried in case things ever went wrong. She understands better than anyone that Tony never stopped building for the next disaster, even after endgame level trauma. But her conflict is brutal. If she reveals what Tony left behind, the world might blame him for everything happening now. If she hides it, Doom gets more time. So she becomes the emotional anchor between truth and protection. She isn't just protecting technology. She's protecting the memory of the man she loved. And I can already hear her saying it. Tony died saving everyone. I won't let the world remember him as a threat. Morgan Stark is where the movie gets its heart. And the smartest thing this story could do is avoid turning her into a mini Iron Man overnight. That would be way too obvious, way too forced. Instead, make her curious. Make her observant. Make her the kind of kid who grew up around genius and inherited the instinct to poke at hidden systems nobody else even notices. While the adults are trying to contain the crisis, Morgan quietly explores archived Stark files, half out of grief and half out of a need to understand her father beyond the legend. And because this is Tony Stark we're talking about, those archives aren't just home videos and blueprints. They're layered, encrypted, emotional, dangerous. Eventually, Morgan activates something she doesn't fully understand, a buried key inside Tony's final systems. Not because she was reckless, but because Tony designed it for someone like her to find when the time was right. Rhodey brings the grounded realism this movie absolutely needs. If Pepper is protecting Tony's legacy emotionally, Rhodey is looking at it like a soldier staring at an unstable warhead. He loved Tony, probably more honestly than almost anyone, but that's exactly why he's willing to say what nobody else wants to hear. If Stark Tech is compromised, it all needs to come down. Every satellite, every dormant protocol, every hidden armor vault, every AI shell, burn it all before Doom turns it into a global weapon. And that internal conflict is fantastic because nobody is wrong. Pepper sees Tony's work as his memory. Rhodey sees it as a vulnerability. Morgan sees it as a puzzle left by her father. Even Happy Hogan can have one beautiful scene in the old workshop, maybe holding some half-finished gadget and quietly saying the one thing only he could say: Tony was a mess. But he always showed up. That line alone would hit. Now here's where the movie becomes something special instead of just another sequel. Tony Stark should not come back physically. No resurrection, no cheap reversal, no undoing endgame, but his presence should absolutely be everywhere. The best version of Tony in this movie is as a fragmented digital ghost. Not a perfect AI copy casually hanging around like he never left, but an emergency consciousness protocol Tony created for the worst-case scenario. Something incomplete, something unstable, something that only activates if multiple conditions are met. Stark technology is weaponized. A genius-level global threat emerges, and reality itself starts behaving in ways Tony once feared. That's your last iron protocol. And when it finally activates halfway through the movie, it shouldn't feel like fan service. It should feel like a haunting. Like the room itself remembers him before the audience sees his face. Before that reveal, though, Doom has to arrive like a force of nature. And I really think his first full scene should happen in an abandoned European fortress hiding a techno-mystic laboratory beneath centuries of stone. Pepper, Rhodey, maybe Riri Williams, maybe a small strike team. They follow a stolen arc energy signal there, expecting some rogue buyer or underground weapons syndicate. Instead, they find something much worse. Stark blueprints pinned beside ancient symbols, arc reactor fragments wired into impossible machinery, AI cores surrounded by ritual geometry. Medieval architecture fused with future war design. It's not just stolen tech, it's Tony Stark's logic being merged with something older, colder, and more absolute. Then from smoke and green-lit shadows, Victor Von Doom steps forward like he has been waiting for them the entire time. No screaming, no dramatic flailing, just complete control. And he says, almost disappointed, "I do not make that mistake." That is the exact moment this movie tells us Doom is not a normal villain. He's not trying to become Iron Man. He's trying to surpass the flaw he believes Iron Man represented. Doom should feel like if Tony Stark's genius and Doctor Strange's dangerous understanding of unseen systems were fused inside the mind of a king who believes freedom is humanity's greatest weakness. He's a scientist, a sorcerer, a strategist, and most importantly, a ruler. Everything about him should radiate the terrifying calm of someone who has already simulated 10 versions of the fight and knows how each one ends. So when the heroes confront him for the first time, he doesn't need to win by overpowering them. He wins by outthinking them. He escapes with exactly what he came for, leaving behind one devastating realization. He was never reacting to their investigation. He was guiding it. And the reason Doom works so well here is because his connection to Tony Stark can be made deeply personal without ever feeling forced. I would have it revealed that Doom has been studying Stark's work for years, maybe ever since Ultron, maybe since Sokovia, maybe since the first public signs that Tony's technology was beginning to shape the fate of entire civilizations. From Doom's point of view, Tony Stark was the closest thing Earth ever produced to a god maker. A man who could redesign war, energy, defense, AI, and survival itself from a garage and a guilty conscience. But in Doom's eyes, Tony's fatal flaw was obvious. He had power without the will to rule. He kept building systems to save humanity while still trusting humanity to remain worthy of them. Doom sees that as childish, tragic even, which is why his obsession with Tony becomes so compelling. He hates him for failing to control the world and respects him for almost being capable of it. That leads perfectly into the movie's central conflict, which should be much bigger than stop the bad guy before the city explodes. Doom's actual objective should be horrifyingly elegant. He wants to activate a hidden Stark origin network that combines global defense systems, dormant armor infrastructure, arc reactor energy grids, and a buried layer of multiversal detection technology Tony was secretly developing after everything with Thanos. In other words, Tony once tried to build a shield around the future. Doom wants to convert that shield into planetary control. That's why the theme of legacy versus control becomes so powerful. Tony built protection because he was terrified of losing people. Doom wants domination because he believes fear is proof that freedom has already failed. Same problem. Opposite philosophy. That's the kind of conflict that actually gives the movie a soul instead of just spectacle. The midpoint reveal should be massive, and I think this is where the film really detonates. Everyone assumes Doom is chasing a reactor, an armor forge, or some impossible Stark weapon. But the real target is Tony's final intelligence archive, a hidden vault containing his most dangerous, unfinished thoughts. Inside are next-generation armor schematics, cosmic anomaly scans, encrypted observations about unstable realities, and one chilling warning Tony never fully solved. He detected the early signs of an incursion-level threat. He knew something was wrong beyond Earth, beyond one timeline, beyond conventional invasion logic. He just didn't know what was coming. Doom, however, does. Or at least he understands enough to know that Tony accidentally left behind the map to the next war. And that changes everything, because suddenly Doom doesn't feel like a man chasing power for ego alone. He feels like someone preparing for an apocalypse by becoming one first. That ambiguity is exactly what makes the second half dangerous. Once Doom secures part of Tony's archive, the action can scale beautifully without losing the emotional center. War Machine is forced into brutal aerial combat against hacked Stark drones that fly like ghosts of Tony's past decisions. Riri Williams can step in as the improvisational genius trying to reverse engineer Doom's corrupted systems in real time. Pepper can absolutely suit up again and rescue, not as fan service, but because the stakes have finally crossed the line where protecting Tony's memory means fighting for it physically. Morgan, meanwhile, becomes the accidental key to unlocking Tony's last Iron Protocol, which means the child most connected to Tony emotionally becomes the one person capable of waking the final piece of him strategically. And visually, the contrast would be incredible. Stark's sleek red-gold precision colliding with Doom's brutal fusion of steel, monarchy, ritual, and machine. Then we hit the climax. And this is where the movie can become iconic if it commits to the philosophy instead of just the punches. The final battle should happen in Tony's hidden last lab. Maybe an orbital forge, maybe a dimensional reactor chamber, somewhere that feels like the ultimate expression of Stark's unfinished future. Doom reaches the core and nearly activates what is essentially a world armor protocol. A shield engine capable of linking defense, surveillance, energy, and dimensional awareness into one centralized command structure. His argument is terrifying because it almost makes sense. Humanity survives only when freedom is removed. That should be his thesis. And then, at the peak of all this, Tony's last Iron Protocol finally stabilizes enough to speak directly. Not as a resurrection, as a conscience, as the final answer to the man trying to weaponize his dream. And Tony says, "You're not trying to save the world, Victor. You're trying to own it." Doom's reply should be just as cold and unforgettable. Ownership is the only form of protection your species understands. That exchange alone tells you exactly why this story works. Tony believed people were worth saving even when they were broken. Doom believes people can only survive once choice itself is removed. That's the real war. So when the heroes stop the protocol, it shouldn't feel like they simply beat Doom in a fight. It should feel like they rejected his worldview. But the smartest move this movie can make is refusing to give us a neat victory. Doom should lose the battle and still win the future. In the chaos, he escapes with the most important piece of Tony's archive: multiversal incursion data, dimensional coordinates, vulnerability maps for Earth 616, something huge. Enough to make it painfully obvious that this was never the end of Iron Man's story. It was the beginning of Doom's. And the emotional landing has to come from Morgan. After all the scale, all the explosions, all the fear, the movie should end quietly in Tony's old workshop. Broken armor pieces, silent tools, half-finished dreams. Morgan walks in alone and activates one final hidden message her father left behind. Not for the world, not for the Avengers, but for whoever came after him. Tony appears one last time and says the suit was never the legacy, the choice was. That line would define the entire movie, because that's what Doom never understood. Iron Man was never the armor, never the AI, never the power grid, never the weapons. It was the decision to protect without possessing, to build without ruling, to save without owning. And then, in the post-credit scene, we finally see Latveria in full. Thrones, towers, armored guards, stolen Stark data flooding green across the dark. Doom studies collapsing universes and quietly says they call it the end of worlds. I call it opportunity. If that theory lands, Avengers Doomsday is already here. Like, share, and subscribe if you want me to break down what Doom does next.